Welcome, friends, and all lovers of tales and stories from all over this wide world. Today, we greet you from the heart of the world of imagination and invite you on a new and exciting journey through our channel, which grows with you day by day. Before we begin, don't forget to prepare your favorite drink and relax in a quiet place, because today's story is not just a passing tale, it's a journey deep into the heart, a story that tests the meanings of love, humility, and courage in facing our destinies. If you are listening to us from Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Morocco, or any precious Arab land, leave us your country's name in the comments and tell us, do you believe that love can break class barriers? Press the like button to let us know how many of you are excited, and let's dive into the details of our story. In a distant kingdom where mountains embraced the clouds and rivers ran clear as crystal, lived Layla. Layla was no ordinary girl. She was the kingdom's only princess, the palace's flower, envied by all for her lavish life. But behind those high walls, adorned with gold and marble, and behind the silk dresses that were heavy with jewels, there was a heart that yearned for something entirely different. Layla, with her black hair flowing like a cascade of deep night and eyes that held the sparkle of stars, felt that the palace was nothing more than a grand golden cage. Every morning, she would stand on her towering balcony, not to admire the lush palace gardens, but to watch the smoke rising from the chimneys of the distant village at the foot of the mountain. She imagined the lives of the people there, their spontaneous laughter, their freedom to walk the streets without guards and without suffocating protocols. Her father, King Salim, was a just ruler but very strict regarding traditions. He believed a princess's place was on the throne and in silk, not mingling with common folk. Layla felt an overwhelming desire to escape, even for a few hours, to taste real life, a life not made of gold, but of sweat, work, and honest laughter. And on a spring morning, where the air carried the scent of wildflowers, Layla decided that the time had come to break free. She put on a simple cloak belonging to her maid, covered her silken hair with a coarse wool scarf, and slipped through the secret servant's passage she had discovered in her childhood, a narrow and dark passage smelling of dampness and age. But to her, it was the path to freedom. As Layla exited the palace's back gate and her feet touched the rough earth, a shiver ran through her body, a mix of fear and exhilaration. She walked with hesitant steps towards the village, and the closer she got, the louder the sounds became, the bustle of the market, the cries of vendors, and the laughter of children. But what captured her attention and dominated her senses was not the noise, but a fragrant, warm, and comforting smell, the scent of fresh bread. That enchanting smell led her through narrow alleys until she stood before a small, modest bakery, its walls worn but clean, from whose chimney rose that aroma, promising warmth and satisfaction. Layla stood captivated, watching from afar the young man working inside. It was Autumn, the young baker, moving with agility and energy amidst clouds of flying flour. Autumn was a young man in the prime of his life, handsome, his skin tanned by the sun of work and diligence, and his eyes shining with kindness and intelligence. He wasn't wearing luxurious clothes, but a white apron stained with dough. Yet in Layla's eyes, he looked more handsome than all the princes who had proposed to her. Layla approached cautiously, trying to imitate the accent of the village girls, and asked for a loaf of bread. Autumn raised his head, wiped the sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand, and smiled a smile that lit up his tired face, saying in a calm, deep voice, "Welcome, miss. You seem to be a stranger to this neighborhood. I haven't seen your face before." Layla was flustered for a moment, but she recovered and said she had come to visit a relative. Autumn gave her the bread and refused to take payment, saying, "This is a welcoming loaf for guests. In our bakery, strangers don't pay for their first loaf." From that moment, Layla's life changed completely. She would sneak away every few days, wearing her simple clothes, and go down to the village to meet Adam. She never told him she was the princess, instead claiming to be the daughter of a traveling merchant. In the bakery, Layla learned what she hadn't learned in the palace. She learned how to knead dough patiently, how to watch the fire carefully, and how a simple loaf of bread carried stories of toil and love within it. Adam would tell her about his dreams, about his desire to invent a new type of bread that would heal the sick, and about his love for the villagers and his desire to help them. Layla saw in Adam a true hero, not a hero who carried a sword, but a hero who carried hope and food for the people. As days passed, the princess's heart began to beat strongly for this simple baker, and Adam reciprocated her feelings, admiring her intelligence and humility, unaware that the girl who shared bread-making with him was the same one whose father's face was printed on the coins he sold his bread with.
But, as they say, nothing lasts forever. One day, the kingdom awoke to a catastrophe. The sky was covered with strange black clouds, and the land, once overflowing with bounty, suddenly dried up. The golden wheat fields, the kingdom's pride and food source, were struck by a mysterious black blight that made the stalks wither and turn to ash upon touch. Panic spread throughout the palace and the village alike. Storerooms began to empty, and the specter of hunger loomed. The king declared a state of emergency, gathering his advisors and wise men, but no one had a solution. Rumors spread that an ancient curse had awakened, and the only solution lay in bringing the legendary sun seeds from the peak of the Cursed Mountain, a towering mountain guarded by monsters from which no one had returned alive.
In the bakery, Adam sadly looked at the empty flour sacks, his heart aching for the children who came asking for bread and returned with empty hands. Layla looked at him and saw a strange determination in his eyes. Adam said, "I cannot sit and wait for death. I will go to the Cursed Mountain. They say there is an ancient sage who possesses immortal seeds. I will bring them or die trying." Layla felt terrified, but she knew she couldn't let him go alone. She firmly said, "I will come with you." Adam tried to refuse her idea, fearing for her, but her insistence was stronger than his fear. The real adventure began with the first rays of dawn. Layla wore travel clothes and took with her a small dagger she had hidden, while Adam carried a bag with what remained of dry bread, a water skin, and a thick staff. The road to the Cursed Mountain was not just a distance to cover, but a test of spirit and body. In the first days, they walked through the dense forest surrounding the kingdom, where tree branches intertwined like giants' arms, blocking sunlight and creating frightening shadows. Wolves howled in the distance, and the wind whistled through the trees like tormented souls. On one cold night, as they sat around a small fire Adam had struggled to light, Layla asked Adam, "Why do you risk your life for a village that might forget your kindness?" Adam looked at the fire and said, "Because a person is not measured by what they possess, Layla, but by what they give. A baker who does not feed the hungry is not a baker, and a person who does not feel the pain of others is not a human being." These words shook Layla, and she felt ashamed of her previous life filled with empty luxury. Her respect and love for this young man, who had the heart of a king in the clothes of a pauper, grew. As they progressed on their journey, difficulties increased. They reached the Valley of Serpents, a narrow pass between two great rocks where huge snakes lived, coiling around and crushing their prey. They had to walk in complete silence and very slowly. At one moment, Layla's foot slipped, and a small rock rolled down, awakening a huge snake with shimmering green scales and slitted. The snake raised its head, ready to strike Layla. In a fraction of a second, Adam threw himself in front of Layla, pushing her away, and faced the snake with his wooden staff. A fierce battle ensued, in which Adam used his agility as a baker to dodge the snake's venomous bites, until with a precise blow he managed to strike its head and drive it away. Layla breathed a sigh of relief and ran to check on him, finding his arm bleeding from a minor wound. She tore a piece of her scarf and bandaged his wound, and at that moment their eyes met in a long gaze, a gaze that carried all the meanings of gratitude and silent love, growing amidst the danger.
After days of hardship, they finally reached the foot of the cursed mountain. The mountain was towering, its summit covered by eternal snows and enveloped in an aura of mystery. The climb was extremely arduous. The cold gnawed at their bones, and the air thinned as they ascended. Layla felt her strength waning, but Adam's presence beside her, encouraging her and offering his hand at every stumble, gave her extraordinary energy. They finally reached the cave at the summit, where the Guardian was set to dwell. The Guardian was not a monster as they had imagined, but a giant bird made of rock, moving slowly and heavily. The stone bird stood before the entrance of the cave, from which a golden light shone, and said in a voice like breaking rocks, "Whoever seeks the sun seeds must pay the price, and the price is not gold or silver, but the truth. Let one of you step forward and tell me the deepest secret you hide, and if you lie, you will turn into a stone statue adorning this mountain forever."
Blood froze in Layla's veins. She looked at Adam, who was preparing to speak, but she knew his secret was simple and transparent like his heart. As for her secret, it was the most dangerous, one that could turn their lives upside down. Layla bravely stepped forward, stood before the stone giant, and removed her head covering, revealing her royal hair and noble features clearly. She said in a trembling voice, yet full of strength, "I am not a merchant's daughter, nor a simple village girl. I am Princess Layla, daughter of King Salam, heir to this kingdom's throne. I lied to the only person I truly loved. I lied because I feared he would reject me because of my title, or treat me as an image, not a person. This is my secret, and I am ready for the punishment." Adam was stunned, his eyes wide with disbelief, stepping back, unable to process what he was hearing. The girl he loved and shared bread and dangers with was the princess. A terrible silence fell over the place. Everyone awaited the guardian's judgment. Suddenly, the stone guardian moved aside and said, "Courage is not only in facing monsters, but in facing the truth and admitting mistakes. You have spoken truthfully, daughter of the king, and truth is the key to light." The cave door opened, revealing the sun seeds glittering like pure gold. They entered and took a small bag of seeds. On the way back, silence reigned supreme. Adam did not utter a word, and pain wrung Layla's heart. When they descended from the mountain and sat down to rest, she approached him, tears in her eyes, and said, "Please, Adam, forgive me. I didn't mean to deceive you. I just wanted to be Layla, the Layla who loves bread and simple life." Adam looked at her for a long time, then smiled that sad smile and said, "You have always been Layla to me, whether you wore silk or wool. But how can a simple baker be with a princess?" Layla said firmly, "Love knows no titles, Adam, and we will prove that to the world." They returned to the kingdom, where the situation had greatly deteriorated. People were starving, and despair filled their faces. Layla entered the palace with Adam, bypassing the guards in her torn clothes and tired appearance, and entered the throne room where her father the king sat in despair. The king exclaimed when he saw her, "Layla, where have you been? We searched everywhere for you." Layla ran and hugged her father, then introduced Adam to him, saying, "Father, this is Adam the baker, and he is the one who saved me and saved the kingdom. We have brought the sun seeds." Layla explained everything that had happened to the king, and about Adam's courage and sacrifice. The king immediately ordered the seeds to be planted, and magically, the stalks grew within a few hours. The fields returned golden and gleaming under the sun, and prosperity returned to the kingdom. In the grand celebration held in the palace square, the king stood before his people, with Layla and Adam beside him. The king looked at Adam and said, "You have taught me a lesson I will never forget, my son. I thought nobility came by birth, but you proved that nobility is in action and in the heart. You saved my people and my daughter, and there is no one more worthy than you to marry into my family." The square erupted in applause and cheers, and people wept with joy. Layla married Adam, and Adam did not abandon his bakery. Instead, he expanded it and began distributing bread free of charge every morning to the poor. And Princess Layla stood beside him, kneading and baking, happy with the life she had chosen. Layla married Adam, and Adam did not abandon his bakery. Instead, he expanded it and began distributing bread free of charge every morning to the poor. And Princess Layla stood beside him, kneading and baking, happy with the life she had chosen. And so, my friends, our story ends, but its lessons remain etched in our hearts. We learned from Layla and Adam that appearances are deceptive, and that essence is what endures. We learned that true love requires courage, courage in confession, and courage in sacrifice, and that happiness does not lie in crowns and palaces, but in giving and sharing the simple details of life with those we love. Do not search for happiness far away. It may be closer to you than you think, perhaps in the scent of bread or in a sincere smile. If you liked the story, share it with your loved ones, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to receive all new updates. May you be safe in God's care, and see you in a new adventure and another story.